Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you an updated and streamlined video on how to play Monster Hunter Frontier Z offline and solo by yourself. Now you may ask, why would I want to play an MMO by myself? Well, a couple of reasons is because firstly, I know some people in some parts of the world can't play any online games because they have no internet connection, or at least they don't have a good internet connection. So, being somebody who's come up from that sort of environment, I can relate. So this video goes out to all of you people who can only play offline right now. Another reason is because I don't know how to set up the online functionality. I'll include a link in the description to the PewPewDojo's community Discord. They're the people whose files I'm using to set this up. And finally, another reason why is because you can actually play the game with NPCs. Later on in the video, I'll show you how to set it up. Now, firstly, what I'm going to do is this window here, I'm going to use this to take us through the entire process. And I'll include everything here in the description below. So, before we continue, this pastebin link, this will give you the detailed instructions as listed by the PewPewDojo community Discord. So, I'd recommend clicking on that, giving it a read through if you don't understand my video or you find it hard to follow. Besides that, there should be 4 files you need to download. This Google Drive folder will take you to a page with 2 downloads. If you're starting from scratch, which is what I'll be doing, you should only need the Erupe Community Edition all in one folder. A couple other things you'll need: the Enterprise DB, that will give you the Go programming language. You'll need that as well. In addition to that, you'll need, the Enterprise DB will be the Post Gre Sql. That's how you'll set up the server. And then, of course, there's the Go programming language. And then, of course, the Local Emulator. I'll go over everything in detail as we go through with each of these programs. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind before we continue. So, I'm actually going to go into airplane mode, because I will not need to be online at all in order to install this once I have all the files downloaded. Once again, I will be using PewPewDojo's files, and their community Discord will be listed in the description below. I would also recommend not using WinRar to install the files. Every time I try, I just have problems and nothing works. So use 7-zip instead. Also, if you've played the game on official servers before they closed, something you'll need to do: open up your registry edit. And this also applies if you follow these instructions and you can't play the game for some reason because you're getting an error. What you'll need to do is you'll need to go to your HQ local machine here. Once you open up the registry edit, go into Software, scroll down to, where is it? There it is, WOW6432Node, and then go to CAPCOM. And it's recommended you just delete your entire CAPCOM folder. If you see something that says Frontier or Monster Hunter or something like that, just delete it. So once you do that, you can close this window and you should be good to go. Again, that only applies if you've played the game before, whenever the official servers were still up and running, or if you've installed everything and it's giving you an error whenever you try to start it up. Alright, so now that we've got that out the way, here's the installation process. You'll want to create a folder for Monster Hunter Frontier Z. You can create the folder anywhere you want to. I've done it on my external hard drive here, just so I can take it on the go if I want to play it on a laptop or something like that. I'll always have it with me. Once you do that, install the Go programming language. And you should be okay using the default settings. Just click through everything and it'll take a minute for this to install. Alright, so once you've installed the Go programming language, you'll need to install Post Gre Sql. Now this one will take a minute to load up and install. You should be okay just going through with the default settings. The password listed here will be any password you want. You'll also need to remember this password for later. For me, it can be anything simple. I'll just make it lowercase a, and I'll just click on next. Leave the port as is, just click through, and let it install. Okay, once you finish installing Post Gre Sql, oh, excuse me, that checkbox there, you actually don't need to check it. Let's just go ahead and close out of that. Alright, so the next thing you're going to want to do is open up the Local Emulator archive with 7-zip. You can install it anywhere you want, but for me, I'm going to install it in the game folder, so it'll be easy to find where it is. I'm just going to call it ZLE2 for Local Emulator 2. Since I have everything sorted in alphabetical order, I put the Z there so it's just at the bottom of the list, and everything stays nice and neat, and I know exactly where everything is. Alright, so we're going to come back to that later. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to open up the Erupe Community Edition all-in-one, and we're going to move both of these files into the game folder. This will be our first really long download. It can take anywhere from a few minutes to half an hour. So what I would recommend doing is finding something to do on the side while you wait for it to install. Alright, so once those files finish transferring over to your game folder, the first thing you should do is open up your server files, and then you're going to want to open up your Go files with 7-zip. What you're going to want to do is in your C drive, go to Users, go to your username. It should show your name, whatever your PC name is here. I'm a simple person, I just put user. So go into user, take this Go file, and extract it into user. This one will be your second large download. This will take a while as well. Alright, so once you finish installing the Go files, you can go ahead and delete this file here. We won't need it anymore. After you've done that, the first thing you should do, after you've done that, create a new text document. And what you're going to want to do is name it SCHEMA Schema.sql. I'll just go ahead and move my Schema.sql over here. Oh, I should copy it. We'll get to that in just a moment. Once you've done that, grab the Erupe files here, and then go into your C drive and drag the Erupe files into your C drive. This part right here should be a fairly quick process. It's only about 20-something megabytes of files. Now, what we're going to want to do after that is right-click on Quest, open the archive with 7-zip, and this bin file here, you're going to want to drag it into your Erupe file. This is about 200,000 files, so it will probably take a while to install it. Okay, so thankfully that only took a couple of minutes for me. Once you finished installing the Quest, you can delete the Quest file. You can also delete the Erupe file, since you've already installed it into your C drive. Alright, so we've already done all of this. The next thing we're going to want to do is go back into our client files, grab this host file. Let's just go ahead and cut it. We're going to go into our C drive, Windows, System32, drivers, etc., and just paste it right there. So what you should see, if you edit it with a text editor, is this at the bottom. That'll mean you've done it correctly. Keep in mind, while this is a System32 file, adding these IPs to the bottom of the host list will affect nothing in your computer. It shouldn't destroy anything. Something I did forget to mention. While you're transferring your files over, the Erupe Community Edition files, what you'll want to do is go into your Windows Security, into Virus and Threat Protection, go to Manage Settings, and then turn off real type protection. It is recommended you do that at least, because under your client files, under Monster Hunter Frontier Online, the Monster Hunter Frontier.exe is a false positive. It is flagged as a Trojan or malware file. That's because it's a Taiwanese exe file, and Windows sees it as a potential virus. Again, this is a false positive, and if you can't find the file, you can just click on this one right here. It'll say, go into the antivirus, and you can click on the quarantined items, which it should be listed there, and you can tell it to ignore the threats, and you can add it as an exception so that it won't do it. I actually like the personality that the creator of this, gave this notepad. It is pretty accurate. It's kind of annoying when you have to go in and dig through all these meetings just to pull it out. But keep that in mind. It's always best to disable the antivirus, especially since you're offline. It shouldn't affect anything, because no signals can be sent to your computer or sent out from your computer. So there shouldn't be much to worry about. Worst case scenario, and obviously this isn't going to happen, but with any executable that you don't trust, if you open it up and it basically locks up your computer and you're in airplane mode, you can always just restart the computer in safe mode without connecting to the internet, and then you can remove the affected file, and that should resolve everything. Either way, TED Talk aside, the next thing you'll want to do is go back into your C drive here just to have it ready. And now we can finally get the server set up. This will be an offline server, so it's basically just a way of telling the game, I have the files, I have the game, I'll be able to play. Open up pgadmin4. If you don't see it listed here, type in pga and it should show up. Now, for most people, unless you're running this off of a solid state drive, it may take a couple of minutes for pgadmin4 to start up. Alright, so once it starts up, you should see this window. If you'll remember correctly, whenever you install pgadmin4 or Post Gre Sql, it asks you for a password. Ours is lowercase a, so let's just put lowercase a there. And then you want to open up your servers and just put lowercase a there again. And we can also choose to save the password so you don't have to put it in every single time. The first one, you'll have to put it in every time. The second one, you shouldn't have to do it. So now let's go down to databases, right click, create, database. And it will be lowercase Erupe. Now, if it gives you this error, I'm guessing it's because it already detected that it's been installed before. This is okay. I mean, if it happens, just right click. You can cancel that page, right click, refresh, boom. There's a Erupe right there. So there's nothing to worry about. The next thing you'll want to do is go into File, Preferences, Binary Paths, and make sure Post Gre Sql is installed in the correct place. If it's not listed here, you can click on the folder icon and then choose where Post Gre Sql is installed. As you can see here, you'll want to go into the Post Gre Sql file, go into 14, and then go to bin. And then once you do that, you can validate it by clicking the checkbox here. It'll say you have the proper files. Click OK, and then you can save. Since save is grayed out for me, I'll just close this window because it's already detected by default. The next thing you'll want to do after that is right-click on Erupe, go to Restore, and under the file name here, click on the folder icon, go into your server settings, and then go to, into your server files, plus server setup, and then go to Erupe backup.sql. Once you do that, click Restore. You should see a little icon here saying you successfully completed the task. After you do that, go under Schemas, right here. Then go under Tables. If it doesn't show your tables right away, right-click and refresh, and it should update the tables. Go to Normal Shop Items, right-click, Import Export Data. Ensure it is set to import data. Click on the folder icon, and import the road shop items.csv and click OK. Once that task is completed, what you're going to want to do is right-click, open up the query tool. You can right-click anywhere at all. And this line right here, you'll want to paste it right up here. So let's copy this. And again, all this will be listed in the description below. We're going to press F5. It'll say the query was successfully returned. Click Save. And save over that Schema.sql file recreated. And then we'll save it by clicking the floppy disk up here. Now we can close it with this X button right here, and then we can close it entirely. The next thing we're going to want to do is go into Erupe, and where it says config.json, right-click that, go to Edit with any text editor of your choice, and here where it says Post Gre password here, whatever password you put in for Post Gre Sql, post it right there in the quotations. Mine is A, so I'm just going to post it right there. And then you can close the window after you save it. The next thing we're going to want to do is go back into the game folder. And here where it says LE2 for the local emulator, let's click leinstaller.exe and install for all users. And now we can close this window. After that, we can go ahead and go into our game files, Monster Hunter Frontier Online, and now up here in the Erupe folder, we're going to open up the run Erupe batch file. Now it may take a minute for something to load up here, but as long as the window stays open, everything should be working properly, and in just a second here you should see what it should look like. There we go. If you see this, you've done it correctly. The next thing we're going to do, right-click on monsterhunterfrontier.exe. Here where it says Local Emulator, you're going to want to hover over that, and then Run with Application Profile. It'll prompt you with this window right here. Go to Run as Administrator, and then Save. Yep, and then it should give you this file here saying it configured your executable. Now, every time you open it, you should just be able to double-click on it, and it should automatically run with Local Emulator. What you should do is go into your settings. I would recommend making sure High Grade Edition is checked if you want the, High Grade Edition to be used. Of course, make sure all these settings are to your liking, and then click OK. And then after that, just make any profile you want. I'll just use lowercase a once more. Again, this is offline, so it's not like anybody can steal my profile. And then you should see this. That means you've done it correctly. Let's go ahead and launch. You'll know you've done it correctly if the, game launches. Something to keep in mind is that whenever you initially start up the game, the buttons will not be the way they should. So for example, I want an X input controller, an Xbox controller. Right now, the Y button, which would be a triangle on a PlayStation controller, is select. So let's just go ahead and try to go through with this. I'll make a male character. Let's name him Abel. Of course, we have to go to the Monster Hunter Freedom Unite clothing. Alright, I'm satisfied with that character. I think I will choose the gun lance, because it is a double barrel shotgun. Excuse me, a double barrel revolver shotgun. Something you may notice is that for some of us, if we try to install the game, at this point, it might not load. So you'll know it's not working if you tab over to the command file and it says recover from panic SQL. So it seems like Post Gre Sql is panicking on us. What we'll need to do is force close the game with Task Manager, and this should be a fairly simple fix. Let's just close that. So if you remember where we did the Schema.sql, let's just open pgadmin4 real quick. Lowercase a to get back in. Open up servers, Erupe, and oh, well, we don't need to open up anything. We can just open up the query tool. Let's try running this one more time. F5, query returned. Let's see if we can save and overwrite here. And since we have already created a file, let's actually see if we can go to View Edit Data here under Users and edit our data. So where it says Rights, something to keep in mind is that there are different types of subscriptions. 14 is the basic paid subscription. 846 will basically give you, I believe it's more items, more experience, and the ability to hire legendary Rastas, which are followers, basically, NPC followers, with like overpowered equipment. And I mean like Elder Dragon equipment. If you go to, I believe it's 1046 or 1048, I'll have it listed in the description below. And it'll also be listed in the PewPewDojo Discord. But there is the third tier subscription, which gives you a 70% defense buff, and it basically destroys the balancing of the game. It makes everything far too easy. Until you go to Zenith monsters and get one-shot by everything. But, yeah, you might want to be careful about that. Once we've done that, let's click on the white X up here and save. And then we can close this window. Let's try to run the game one more time. Alright, so run the Erupe server, and then run monsterhunterfrontier.exe. Once more, because of this config file down here, it should automatically run with Local Emulator. And now we can go ahead and try to make another character. I'll pause the recording here and be back whenever I make another character. Alright, now that I've remade my character, let's choose a gun lance again. And hopefully it should load this time. There we go. Now that we've rerun the query file, it's loading the game. So this guy will be in your face at the start. I'll say, hey, welcome to Monster Hunter. This is the area you're going to be living in for the rest of the game, basically. And he's also going to tell you to talk to that lady down there. Let's go ahead and ignore that menu. So, unfortunately, my buttons aren't responding properly. This guy, he's just telling you about the roster bar, and that you'll be able to unlock it at HR2. Let me actually do this real quick. Now I can actually hear myself think. Alright, so I'm going to have to hold shift on the keyboard because, oh my god, just the buttons are not working. Alright, so once we talk to this lady, she's going to tell us about the Hunter Navi, which is basically a sort of roadmap reward system. We can ignore that for now. We'll talk to her again, and the first thing you should do, after she gets done explaining how quests work, is go into Hunter Quests, 1-star quests, and then go down to the survey quests that ask you to deliver a map. Just because these are the easiest quests to deal with. So once you're HR1, you will have NPCs follow you out onto missions. But it'll be the instructor, and if there are 2 other NPCs, they won't be like special NPCs with unique armor. They'll be training NPCs with basic origin armor. If you don't know what the origin armor is, well, you can look it up. Once you start the mission, press escape to open the menu. Go into options. Oh, excuse me. And then go into input options. After that, go into key settings. You're going to want to change the settings to portable type. This will be the closest we can get to a modern preset. After that, go into analog stick. The left analog stick is being registered, the right analog stick is not. So select the right analog stick, hold up on the right analog stick, press select, hold left on the right analog stick, and select it as well. And now, the right analog stick and left analog stick are both being registered. Under button assignments, you can see most of the buttons are working correctly. The D-pad, L1, R1, the right stick, the left stick, but the face buttons and the start and select button are not working. So what we're going to want to do is hold a button to close the test window. First, let's go to select. It's under L2. Let's press Y or triangle on a PlayStation controller and press select here. Press Y, start here, and then it should be pretty self-explanatory if you know how PlayStation or X input controller works. Select here by pressing the Y or triangle button, and press Y or triangle. Select again, X or A on an Xbox controller. Select again, square or X on an Xbox controller. Select again, B or circle on an Xbox controller. For myself, I like invert look. So I'm also going to change the right analog stick up to down so that down is up. After that, press square or X on the Xbox controller, and then go down to exit. Select it, yes, yes, and this is where our new button effects will, our new button assignments will take effect. I'm going to press B or circle on a PlayStation controller because you know how Japanese is, or how Japanese games are. Instead of X being selected, it's usually B or circle. And now, our button combinations should be working. Sprint, camera, that's R and L. Let's press Y to pull out the weapon. Y and B. Guard, B. Excuse me, guard and Y is what I meant to say. Actually, I don't remember. Is it guard and B? Yes, guard and B. Alright, and now we can go into an item box, grab a map. There's also free items here you can grab to your heart's content. You'll be able to keep them at the end of the quest, and then deliver the map. You'll know you have NPCs with you because they will have this little yokai robot, this Japanese yokai robot symbol next to their name. Your palico and this little wyvern that follows you around called a hawk, H-A-U-K, they will also have this icon beside their name. Basically, it means it's a computer-controlled character. Let's send everything to the item box and finish. Let's just return to town. And now, instead of having to press escape on the keyboard to pull up our menu, oh, and this is him saying, congratulations on completing your first quest, and explaining how everything works. We can now press start to bring up our menu, and go into options. What you'll need to do is go into Mpc Settings, and this is where you'll configure your NPCs. The legendaries are special NPCs you'll see in the raster bar. You'll be able to contract them once you finish setting up your, once you get to HR2. The partner is, I believe that's player characters, so if you play online with somebody else. The partner is the palico, the cat that follows you around. The temporary rastas, so basically the way it worked before is if you were a free user, whenever you get to HR2, you can go into the roster bar and request to use a temporary rasta, since you wouldn't be eligible to get a proper rasta, which is just a follower. So you'd be able to try it out for a few missions, and they'd say, hey, if you pay $10, you can get like an actual permanent rasta, which is right here, the rastas. You can actually customize them, select their weapon, etc., etc. The FOSTA, these are temporary followers. So once you get to HR2, there'll be random NPC followers that go out with you on missions. Of course, if you want to change this at the start of a mission, you can set it to 4, 3, 2, or 1 players. If it's 1, it's just you. If it's 4, up to 3 other NPCs are going to follow you out. And the Hawk, I would recommend keeping this on because it doesn't count towards your NPC limit, and it usually goes out with you on every mission. Also, it's pretty useful as a distraction. Same with the Palico. Something to keep in mind is you can select these and move them on the list. Basically, it's a priority list. You can't move the Hawk because it's always there, and again, it doesn't count towards your NPC limit on missions. If you don't have a Palico, then turning this on will not automatically bring a Palico to you. You'll have to go into your house and into your garden? Not your garden. Your, I don't remember. It's like your My Support or something like that, and then you can go get a Palico. So for myself, say for example, I want legendaries to be lower on the priority list. I want the Rasta, my partner. He's definitely going to follow me out once I get to HR2 and make one. The Palico will be next, and then temporary followers. I just want nothing to do with any legendaries because I don't want them to carry me through the game like some in-game guy who just won't let a noob, appreciate the monsters for what they are, enjoy the hunt, so to speak. Yes, I might be projecting a little bit as a veteran of the series, but anyway, so now, whenever I go out on hunts, my Rasta will follow me first, and then my partner, and then a temporary player, just an NPC player. It'll randomly select from different weapons and armor sets, and then they'll follow you out. Now, if I turn these off, then of course, they won't follow me out. It'll go next on the priority list to whatever's on. And if you don't have it, right now, I don't have a Rasta, I don't have a partner, and I don't have access to FOSTAs because I'm HR1. It'll go next down the list. Say you got 3 legendaries will follow you out, or if you got a temporary Rasta, 1 slot will be filled with a temporary Rasta, and then 2 with the legendaries. Again, while you're HR1 though, you will only be followed out by the instructor and NPC players that follow along with the instructor. So all that aside, we can go ahead and quit the game now. There's one more thing we need to do. We can close this window. Let's actually, bring this back up first of all. We can close this. We don't need it anymore. Again, this here, all this will be in the description. But the last thing we need to do, right here where it says MHF.exe, let's create a shortcut. Just so it's closer to the end of the list here, I'm just going to rename it. I'll just put var mh. Very Monster Hunter. Let's actually make it number 2, because that's the second thing we're going to need to open. Let's cut it. Paste it out here. And then let's go into our Erupe folder in our C drive. Right click on run erupe.bat, create a shortcut, rename it var mh1, since it's the first thing we'll need to load. Let's cut it, paste it out here. And now, you can close everything. Of course, I'm going to minimize that because I need to paste it in the description. We're going to take this, put it right there, take this, put it right there, boom. Now if I want to play, I double click on that to start it up, and then I can double click right there. And as you can see, I did all this offline. So that is how you play Monster Hunter Frontier offline solo, and that should be everything you need to know. If you have any questions or any problems, you can always message me on Discord. You can find this guide specifically in the Monster Hunter Renewal, the Monster Hunter Frontier Z Zenith Renewal Discord. I initially made this guide for them, so I'll have their Discord posted in the description. And since I'm using PewPewDojo files, you can always go into PewPewDojo's Discord. They actually have a help channel. So if you have any questions, you can ask them there. They even have a thread in the help channel with common issues and how to fix them. That said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact me, ask in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share, blah, 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 all that other good stuff, and have a good day.